Gestes, yeah.
Yes, yes. If an if a doubt of uncleanness arose concerning a jar of truma, Rabbi Eliezer says if it was lying in an exposed place, he should put it in a hidden place. If it was uncovered, he should cover it. Rabbi
Uh,
Yeshua,
wait, no. It's Gestes. You've gone backwards.
yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You're right. It's a nice mission anyway. Okay.
yeah.
If the jar was broken in the upper part of the press and the lower part is unclean, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua agree that if he can save it from one clean revi, he should save it. But if not, Rabbi Eliezer says, let it descend and become unclean. Let him not make it unclean with his hands. So too, if a jar of oil was upset, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua agree that if he can save it from one clean revi'it, he should save it. But if he not, Rabbi Eliezer says, let it descend, be absorbed, and let him not gather it up with his hands. Regarding both this and that, Rabbi Yeshua said, this is not the shuma which I am bidden to not to render unclean, only which I may render not clean, and which I may not render, and which may I not render unclean. If he was passing from one place to another with loaves of truma in his hands, and an un-Jew said to him, give me one, and I shall render it unclean, and if not, I shall render it all unclean. Rabbi Elias says, let him render all unclean, and let him not give him one to render it unclean. Rabbi Yeshua says, let him place one before him on a stone.
Okay, now moving from inanimate objects to people. Chen nashim she'amru lahem goyim. So some goyim, Rahman al-Islam, captured some Jewish women and said, "Tunu achas mikem unatama'a." Give us one of you, and we'll have our way with her. But if you don't, we'll take all of you.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, you can't hand over one person because that's an assay. You're taking somebody and giving them over to the goyim to effectively be killed or to be raped or whatever terrible things. And there, it's not allowed to participate. So they had those cases. Unfortunately, I think there were cases like that in the Crusades where they would say, "Give us one Jew, or else we'll take you all."
They had done the
And
Holocaust too.
yeah,
Parents would go and say they want to take my child, but they said if I get somebody else, I can save my child. What should I do?
no, so it's not a possibility. Um, what if it was a case where they're asking for somebody specific? So, for example, in the case of Shimshon,
Mm-hmm.
where the Plishtim and said, "Listen, hand over Shimshon, otherwise we're gonna destroy your whole city." So, just hold on a second. My wife is
Sure.
yeah. Okay. Right. So Shimshon, they were asking for him specifically. So Shimshon said, "No, hand me over. It's fine." There was the case where he tore open his buns and found the junky jawbone, and
Right.
uh,
By the way, here's this question. This is from, I'm sure you're familiar with this book, Responsive from the Holocaust by
ooh,
Ephraim Oshri. So
yeah.
the question that he asked was, may a person save himself by causing the death of a fellow Jew? And
Sheesh.
so the response was there were a number of views regarding the first question, some of which allow the El Sarat to hand out the white cards and others to forbid it. It's a whole thing. It's like 3, 4 pages, but that was one of the questions. You know,
Oy, horrible, horrible questions. Oy,
I mean, if someone,
Shaloneda.
I guess he was thinking if someone was, I mean, he was dying. That was it. It was over. There was nothing else to do. The Nazis didn't have to do anything. They did enough already, and he's there. He says, what do I do? Do I substitute him in some way and save my family or my friend or terrible questions.
Mm,
Questions.
yeah, yeah, Shaloneda. Okay. Uh, Perik Tesha. Hazoria Teruma. If somebody planted truma, so there were seeds that were truma, and it happened that he planted the seeds. Now we'll see. It matters whether he did it deliberately or not,
Uh-huh.
because if he did it b'shogeg, um, if he did it b'shogeg yofach, then then he can plow it over and get rid of it and reuse and replow Ripla chulin. Mazid, Yekayim. If he did it deliberately, now you made your bed, you got to sleep in it. Now you got a field full of truma, and you're not allowed to plow it up because now this is now you knew that it was truma. You're not allowed to destroy it, let it grow, and the entire crop is truma from what grows, and you have to tend to it, and that's your field used by truma. Okay. Im hevia shlish ben shogeg ben mezid yikaim. However, if it grew up to a third of its size, before he realized that it was truma that he had planted, Yekayim, then at that point, even somebody who was shogeg has to let it stand because now it's a significant plant and he can't destroy it with his hands. Okay, Uva pishtan mezid yofach, and if it was with flax, even if it was mezid, he has to turn it over. What's with flax? Because the flax, the main part is the ikar part of the flax is the givolim of the givolim is the part that makes the fiber, right? So those branches, those soft branches that get turned into fibers, and the Chachamim made a knas on him that he does have to turn it over, so that he shouldn't sow the truma flax with an intention of benefiting from the leaves, because no, it's just the seeds that are going to be asked because of truma, but the leaves are what we want anyway. Because remember, truma is only on food. So flax seed is edible. So if you had some edible flax seed and it was truma, he says, let me just plant that and I'll use the leaves. So he said, even then, no, we're going to destroy it. Okay, because that's a knas, and we don't allow him to get any kind of benefit from that. Okay. So now, let's say you had this case of the seeds, the truma seeds that were sown, and they grew into a field of wheat. Let's say it's still chayiv in leket, shich, and peah. All of these things, even though it is truma, it's still a new crop, and all of the matanas la'aniyim are still shayach. V'aniyei Yisrael v'aniyei kohanim melaktim, and both Yisrael and kohen aniyim are allowed to pick it. Okay, that's interesting because he has a case where Yisraelim can legitimately become owners of truma. Okay, v'aniyei Yisrael mochrin es shelahim lakohanim b'dmei truma. So what they can do is they then take this and sell it as truma to kohanim, and the money is good for them. And the money has no kedusha on it. Once you sold the truma, it's not like shvius produce where the money takes on a kedusha. Truma, he sells it to a kohen, and the money is chulin. Okay, Rabbi Tarfon Omer lo yelaktu ela aniyei kohanim. He says no, you shouldn't allow anyone other than kohanim to pick the leket, shich, and peah. Shema yishkachu v'yitnu lesoch b'yem, because maybe they'll forget themselves and they'll eat. Amar lo Rabbi Akiva imkain lo yelakatu ela tohorim. So he says to Rabbi Tarfon, if you're gonna be that strict, then why stop there? Then tell the kohanim that they have to be tahor in order to pick this, because you're not allowed to be tamei and eat truma either. And he says no. He says Elama. He disagrees. He's not actually seriously suggesting that Chomer Rabbi Akiva. He agrees with the Tanna Kama that that Yisraelim should also be allowed to pick, and he's just taking Rabbi Tarfon to task and say, listen, if you're going to be machmer on Yisraelim because they might forget themselves, then you must also prohibit people who are tamei from going into the field. Okay, back.
Okay.
Mishna Aleph.
Aleph. If one eats truma inadvertently, he must pay its value.
Hold on. Wait. Sorry. Beg your pardon. Wait. No. Where are we? We are in. I beg your pardon. I'm in Vav Aleph. Yeah.
If one eats truma inadvertently, he must pay its value plus 1/5. Whether he eats it or drinks it or anoints himself with it, whether it is clean truma or unclean truma, he must pay 1/5 and 1/5 of 1/5. He may not pay in truma, but in tithe b'chulin, which becomes truma, and that which is given in payment is truma, and the priest decides to forgo it, he cannot do so. If the daughter of an Israelite ate truma and afterwards married a priest, if the truma she ate had not been acquired by a priest, she pays its value and a fifth to herself. But if she ate truma which the priest had already acquired, she pays its value to the owners and the fifth to herself. For they said, if one eats truma inadvertently, he pays its value to the owners and a fifth to whomever he wishes. If one gives his laborers and his guests truma to eat, he pays its value, and they pay the fifth. So says Reb Meir. But the Chachamim say they pay its value and the fifth, and he pays them the value of their meal. Okay. Okay. All right. Shavias. Hey.
A test.
Hey, test. A woman may lend her neighbor who is a suspect in regard to the seventh year a sifter, a sieve, and a handmill and an oven, and she may not sift or grind with her. Therefore, the wife of a chaver may lend to the wife of an amaretz a sifter, a sieve, and she may she may sift, grind, or refine with her. But once she has poured water, she may not touch with her, for one may not aid transgressors. But all these things were said solely for the sake of peace. And one may encourage non-Jews in the seventh year, but not Jews. And one may greet them for the sake of peace. There are three territories in regard to the seventh year. All that which the ascendants from Babylon occupied of Eretz Israel, as far as Keziv, may not be eaten nor cultivated, and all that the ascendants from Egypt occupied from Keziv, as far as the river, and until Amana, and may be eaten but not cultivated. From the river and Amana inward may be eaten and cultivated. In Syria, one may attend to the detached, but not to the attached. One may thresh, winnow, thread, bind, but not harvest, nor gather grapes, nor pick olives. Rebbe Akiva laid down a general rule: the like of whatsoever is permitted in Eretz Yisrael may be done in Syria.
Okay.
Okay. If one recited who creates the fruit of the soil, boy, my mouth is working today. If one recited who creates the fruit of the soil over fruit of the tree, he has fulfilled his obligation. If over fruit of the soil, he recited he who creates the fruit of the tree, he has not fulfilled his obligation. If over all of these one said, by whose word all things exist, he has fulfilled his obligation. Over such things as do not grow from the soil, one says, by whose word? Over vinegar, over one ripe fallen fruits, and over locusts, one recites, by whose word? Over milk, eggs, and cheese, one recites, by whose word? Rabbi Yehuda says, no blessing is recited over whatever is the nature of a curse. If many varieties were placed before him, Rabbi Yehuda says, if one of the seven is among them, he recites that blessing over it. And he'll come and say he blesses over whatever he wishes. And that's the halacha. Correct?
Okay. Yeah.
Correct? That's the halacha.
That's yeah, that's right. Right, that's the halacha, correct. Okay.
Oleos. If there are two skylights, one above the other, each the size of a square tefach, and tuma is in the house, whatever is directly opposite opposite the skylights remains tahor. If the tuma is directly opposite the skylights, the house remains tahor. If the tuma is either in the house or directly opposite the skylights, an item susceptible to tuma is placed over either the upper or the lower skylight, and everything becomes tameh. If an item not susceptible to tuma is placed over the skylight, whatever is below the item becomes tameh, whatever is above remains tahor. If the skylights are smaller than a tefach and tuma is in the house, whatever is directly opposite the skylights remains tahor. If the tuma is directly opposite the skylights, the house remains tahor. If tuma is in the house and an item either susceptible to tuma or not is placed over either the other or the lower skylight, and only the lower becomes tameh. If the tameh is directly opposite the skylights and an item susceptible to tuma is placed over either the upper or the lower skylight, everything becomes tameh. If an item not susceptible to tuma is placed over either the upper or the lower skylight, only the lower becomes tameh. If there is a skylight in the roof of a house and a pot is placed beneath the skylight so that if the pot were raised, its edges would not touch the roof surrounding the skylight, and there is tuma below, inside or above the pot, the tuma penetrates upward and downward. If the pot is one tefach above the ground and there is tuma below it or inside the house, The area below the pot and the inside of the house becomes tameh. But whatever is inside or above the pot remains tahor, and if the tumor is inside or above the pot, everything becomes tameh.
Because we have the principle of good achis, where we consider that the pot um, the pot is considered as if it's elevated and filling up the hole in the skylight. So so that's why we only make tameh around it, not in the airspace above. Okay.
Okay. Idios. Rabbi Akiva testified in the name of Nehemiah, the leader of the base Del. I don't like that word. Base Deli. Doesn't seem to fit.
Base Delhi.
Delhi. Okay, yeah, because it doesn't seem to.
Yeah. Not New Delhi.
That we the base of base Delhi, that we are allowed to a woman to remarry based on the testimony of one witness. Rabbi Yeshua testified about bones that were found in the woodshed of the temple, and that the sages said about them, one should collect them bone by bone, and everything is tahor. Rabbi Eliezer said, I have heard that when they were building in the sanctuary, they made curtains for the sanctuary and curtains for the courtyards, except that in the case of the sanctuary, they would build outside the curtains, whereas in the case of the courtyard, they would build inside the curtains. Rabbi Yeshua said, I have heard that we may offer sacrifices even though there is no sanctuary building, and that we may eat kochim kadoshim, even though there were no curtains, and that we may eat kadoshim kalam and ma'aser sheni in Jerusalem, even though there were no walls around it, because the original sanctification sanctified for that time and sanctified for the future. Rabbi Yeshua said, I have a tradition from Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who heard it from his teacher, and his teacher from his teacher, as the law taught orally to Moshe at Sinai, that Eliyahu will not come to declare pure or impure or pure, to distance or to draw near. Eliyahu will come to declare impure or pure, to distance or draw near. Rabbi Yehuda says he will come to draw near, not to distance. Rabbi Shimon says he will come to reconcile the difference of opinion. And the comments say he will come neither in distance nor to draw near, but only to make peace in the world, as it states, behold, I send you Eliyahu the prophet before the coming of the great and awesome day of Hashem, and he will reconcile the hearts of the fathers to the sons, and the hearts of the sons to the fathers. Okay. We have next we did Olios.
Yeah, Nech Avodah Zarah.
Avodah Zarah. Okay.
Okay.
Shammai says, we may bring shlamim on Yantov without bleeding on them, but we may not bring olios. Beis Hillel says we may bring both shalom and olios, and we may lean on them. If Shavuos falls on the eve of Shabbos, Beis Shammai says the day of slaughter is after Shabbos. Beis Hillel says there is no slaughter after the Shabbos. They concur that if it fell on Shabbos, the day of slaughter is after the Shabbos. The Kohen Gadol does not don his special garments on that day. Moreover, they are permitted to eulogize and fast in order not to confirm the view of those who say that Shavuos is always the day after Shabbos.
Right. There was an argument with the Tzedukim who said that Mimacharas Shabbos, which we know by oral tradition to be Pesach. That Tzrias almost starts from immediately after Pesach, the first day of Pesach. But they say no, it's after the first Shabbos of Pesach. So that Shavuos always comes out Motzei Shabbos.
We must wash the hands for an unsanctified food, for Maaseh and for Truma, but for Kodesh we must immerse the hands. Regarding the water of cleansing, if one's hands were contaminated, his entire body is considered contaminated.
Ad kan.
That was it?
That's it. That was it.
I have a question though. I wanted to ask. Where is it here? If it's it's a page back here. It's about Shavuos. If Shavuos comes on the eve of Shabbos, right? On the eve of Shabbos, right? So
yes.
That would mean that it goes from Shabbos into Shavuos. So they would have to prepare all their food for before that. They can cook on Shabbos on Shavuos.
Right. So they can cook on Shavuos, correct? Yom
So
Tavor. So Yom Tavor, that's the day of when you're going to shech the Olos Re'iyah. Because remember, Shavuos doesn't have a Chol Hamoed.
right.
For Pesach and Sukkot, you can bring it during Chol Hamoed. So when are you going to bring the Korban Chagiga for Shavuos? So according to Beis Shammai, it must be after Shabbos. So on Sunday, because according to Beis Shammai, you can't bring Olos Re'iyah on Yom Tov. As we said in the previous Mishnah.
And you
Okay,
can't do it
and
at night. You can't do it at night then.
right, so they definitely can't do it at night. We don't bring any korbanos at night.
Right.
Okay, and so Beis Hillel say no, there's no need to have the Yom Tov after Shabbos because according to Beis Hillel, the Olas Re'iyah can be brought on Yom Tov itself. Even though it's an ola, even though it's not being eaten by people on Yom Tov, so you'd say it's not ochel nefesh. It probably boils down to the argument between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai about ochel nefesh,
That's what I was
where
thinking. Right.
right where Beis Shammai say you're only allowed to do malacha for things that you're actually going to eat, and Beis Hillel say no, mitoch shehut shelo ochel hut davar acher. Right, so it's going onto the mizbeach. Nobody's going to eat it, but the shechita is allowed because you're allowed to do it for eating.
So there's all those. What do we do with that meat then? What do we do with that?
Ola is completely burned.
But vertically burned. So
Yes.
they don't have anything to. They don't have. Right. Okay. All right. So it's always completely burned. Everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ola is always completely burned. Yes.
I just wanted to get
Except
this.
the skins go to the kohanim.
Oh, right. Right. Have a great day. Thank
You
you.
too. Wonderful
Stay safe.
day.
Stay safe.
You
Okay.
too. Bye.